feel like Gordon Bombay would have taken his career to even further heights.
Everything's flashy, everything's cocaine, everything's
Fun.
Open wide for some soccer!
I don't care what your personal thoughts are at home. I care that you hate the Cowboys.
Call this college rule!
Welcome back, everybody, to the Sports Experience Podcast. Dom and Chris here, and before we begin, as always, make sure after watching our videos, you go ahead and like them, put some comments in there to help us in the algorithm. We just got to 200 subscribers here on YouTube. We get to 1,000, we can monetize it and do some really wild and awesome stuff here on the channel. So make sure you do that. We'd much appreciate it, and if you have any suggestions, please let us know, especially blocks, because we're in the middle of a block right now.
That's right. We're in a Negro League block, which is, I asked Dom, I said, are we doing this so we can start saying Negro? He said, of course.
We got to get it under the wire.
But we only got 2 more of this block, which has been a really great one because it is some literally baseball players that should have been in the MLB, and they're in the Hall of Fame. They're about to be taken out.
Oh, God. But it's 2025, Chris. Anything can happen.
That's what I'm saying. But we're talking about Buck O'Neil today, which I almost just did research on Paul O'Neil just to mess with you. But I was like, no, that's not going to play.
Buck helped so many kids in the hospital by catching balls in his hat from first base.
That's so true.
3 home runs.
3 home runs.
Yeah.
I barely hit 1 home run a game.
So anyway, Buck O'Neil, John Jordan Buck O'Neil, born November 13th, 1911 in Carabel, Florida, to parents Jordan and Luella. He's grandson of a slave, actually, which I read. And we're not too far in the future of bad times.
No.
You know what I mean?
And you know how bad times it is because he grew up in Sarasota, Florida. And he literally couldn't go to high school because they didn't have an all-black high school because it was segregated at that time. And then he had to move to then go to high school. That's how bad we're talking about these guys' upbringings.
This isn't even student athletes.
No, they wouldn't
like
let them
Amistad.
in. Yeah, it's crazy.
He's the middle of 3 kids.
Yep.
Sister Fanny, brother Warren. His dad worked at the sawmill and in the celery fields, and his mom was a homemaker. Dad was a local baseball player.
Yeah.
That's kind of how he found the game.
Yeah, he kind of came up playing baseball, and you can kind of see that because he does start early and has kind of like a good career, which you imagine these guys who don't have the best upbringing or who are very poor, they're like, oh, we can play baseball all day.
Yeah, there's like nothing else to do. Like we either work or play baseball.
Exactly.
Or sleep or get the occasional meal on the side. Sarasota, although it was segregated, did have some advantages there in the 20s because lots of teams were playing spring training either there or around that area in Major League Baseball.
Yep.
It was the spring training home of the New York Giants. The Yankees and Athletics were not too far away. As a kid, he said he met Babe Ruth, Daffy Dean, and Lefty Grove,
which is cool.
No, I mean,
you know, because like you were saying, like you had MLB teams coming out to Florida and playing, so they would be like, "Oh, this kid's playing," and
hi guys, I'll never play again.
Yes, I was just gonna say that. Hey, they won't let me in your league, but I should be.
You mind if I shag some balls for you, babe? I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it thanks to Kennesaw Mountain Land.
Oh, Mountain Land.
It was like Fred McGriff. That's what it reminded me of because he grew up in Tampa.
Yep.
So it was like, hey, there's baseball all the time.
Yes.
He would go with his uncle in the wintertime and his dad to West Palm Beach to see famous pitcher Rube Foster.
Sure.
And at that time, basically was obsessed with baseball. Did you read anything about his nicknames growing up?
No.
So he was either known as Jay, JJ, or Foots. They called him Foots because he had a size 11 shoe at age 12.
Jesus.
And
And that's huge back then.
And you know what they say about guys with big feet? Great baseball players.
Great baseball players.
Great
Yep.
baseball players. As you discussed before, not allowed to go to high school. So he had to go to an all-black high school there in Sarasota. And in 1924, he is recruited by the Sarasota Tigers, a semi-pro team, and plays first base for them for a couple of years.
Yep.
On the side, he's working with his dad in the celery fields. And did you read a story where he just eventually had enough of it?
Yeah. Where he literally was like, I have to do something other than working in the fields and playing semi-pro ball. It's a nice way to say it. And he starts barnstorming.
Yeah. Yeah. He told his dad, or he said kind of out loud, he's like, damn it, there's got to be something better than this.
Yeah.
And then when his dad heard him, he's like, I'm going to get in trouble for swearing.
Yeah.
He's like, no. And his dad assured him, he's like, no, there is something better than this, but it's not here.
No, and he has to, and this is when he moved to Jacksonville, right?
Yeah.
So he moved to Jacksonville. He finishes high school. He actually goes to 2 years of college to kind of like have that reassurance of, because obviously baseball can't pay the bills at that point. And then right after Jacksonville, he starts barnstorming with, and this is the big thing that I think that helps a lot of these Negro League players, is they had this thing where they could travel and play baseball every single day.
Yeah, like that's your life.
Yes.
I mean, and you have to play every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, because you're not getting paid.
Yes, exactly.
He talked about with his dad, they would pass the hat. It's like comics. You pass the hat around or
Yeah.
pass the bucket around. So he's with the Tampa Bay Smokers in 1933. Not sure what they're smoking. 1934, he's with the Miami Giants and making a cool $10 a week with room and board. The barnstorming was weird. I don't know if you saw anything where they had two old Cadillacs where the first broke down and the second they ended up selling because it was the Depression.
Yeah.
So, like, hardly any way to get around. You were literally, hand-to-mouth barnstorming.
Yes.
It sucks.
And they couldn't get around once they sold those Cadillacs. That's what's so bad. He signed for the Memphis Red Sox, played with them for a little bit, but then you see him being good enough, and that's the thing where you see these barnstorming games against white athletes, against black, you know what I mean? Like, it has a huge mixture of guys where they're like, oh, this guy is actually good.
Yeah.
And that it leads to him being on an actual team.
This guy isn't just the coach's plumber. He can play.
Exactly. Exactly.
He was that 1937 season. He's with the Zulu Cannibal Giants, which all I can say, won't go into it. If you read about it, you'll go, wow, the 30s were a strange time.
What a name.
I mean, that's some. All I'm gonna say is that's some Lethal Weapon 6 level of stuff. 1938, though, he joins the Kansas City Monarchs.
And that's when he becomes a Monarch, which we all know from this series was the almost like staple of teams. It was like them and
The Crawfords.
And the Crawfords.
And the Grays.
Yep.
So he, 1938, the owner goes to Shreveport, where he's playing at the time, and gives him a tryout. And May 15th, 1938, he makes his debut in right field, goes 1 for 4. And then for the next 12 years, he's the team's first baseman.
Yep.
And he's one of the best first basemen in the entire league. Had baseball been integrated, probably wouldn't have been there for very long.
Well, it really is interesting when you see these guys come up because they don't have these kind of like warm up or like building programs that are like, we should put him at this position. It literally is like, well, I've been playing right field just because I play that. And they're like, you're a first baseman. Get to first base. You're one of the best first basemen in the entire league.
It's like, I want you playing third. Why? I like the cut of your jib.
Yes. No, literally, it was like that, where they were like, you just look like a third baseman to me. You're just like, what?
You have a number 3 on, right? That's where you're going.
Yep.
So the Monarchs at this time were Satchel Paige is there, obviously, one of the best teams in the Negro Leagues. So from 39 to 42, they win 4 straight Negro American League pennants.
Before they had World Series.
Yeah.
That this is the thing that you also have to like realize is like they were the best team, but they didn't have like that final game. It was like winning a pennant was it.
Yeah. So in 42, that's the team that he called the best team he ever played on ever.
Yep.
He hit 375 in that series against Homestead and started at first base in the East-West All-Star game. Did you read about how he got his nickname Nancy?
No.
From Satchel Paige?
No, but that's brutal.
So no, it's actually fantastic. Normally when you get called Nancy, it's derogatory or mean. This one is actually kind of funny. So Satchel Paige, bit of a womanizer, as we might have alluded to. His wife came to visit him on a road trip, and apparently what happened is they the lady he was with was named Nancy, and his wife Satchel was knocking on the door, and Buck knew that his wife was there.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, Nancy, where are you? And then Buck O'Neill comes out of the room. Hey, Satch, why are you calling me?
Oh, my God. That's such a great.
What do you want?
What a great teammate.
That's a wingman if I've ever seen it.
That's right.
He's like, Satch, I need you to be my eyes.
Oh, that's great.
That Hershey highway to the danger zone. Whew. Anyway, but so that's how Easter Sunday, 1943, he hits for the cycle and met his wife on the same day.
Yep.
He was married for like 60 years.
I know, yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. But that year, he's drafted into the Navy.
And I just want to point this out. 43, obviously World War II is breaking out. This is when Buck O'Neill is in his prime.
Yeah.
This is literally like so many guys this happened to, but he was like in what was it? In 46 when he came back, he hit like 350. And you're just like, well, 43 he was on the verge of doing that, went to war and then came back and was still that lethal.
It's like DiMaggio's we
Yes.
talked about her. Ted
Yes.
Williams, like guys that just like just absolutely erased, which sucks.
It sucks because it was a lot of these guys prime that they had to go serve for like 2-3 years and then come back, beat those Nazis. Those some would call them Kanye Wests, but that's what they literally had to do.
Chocolate Nazis.
In the Ooh, a chocolate Nazi. But that's literally what they had to do in the prime of their career. And Buck O'Neill is one of those guys that you could see that he has a couple of really good years after that. But if you look at his stats in like 42, 43, you're like, oh, he was on the verge.
It's like he's ascending.
Yes.
And he's ascending in this league that's getting more competitive and about to become a lot less competitive,
Yep.
as we'll talk about. So when he's still in the Navy in 45, he learns about a new monarch named Jackie Robinson, who later signed with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And he said when they found out, because they had said that he was signed there to go to the Dodgers while he was still in the Navy, that everyone was more excited, all the black troops were more excited than Victory in Japan Day.
Oh, yeah, I'm
Had to
sure.
be. So in 46, like you said, he comes back, and they're awesome. They're awesome again. This is actually Satchel Paige's last year with the Monarchs, as we discussed. They play the Newark Giants, or Eagles, in the World Series. That was the Larry Doby one.
Oh, yeah, with Larry Doby. Sure, sure.
Game 7 hit his second home run of that series to tie the game at 1. They end up losing, though, 3-2. And by 47, though, he's now player manager. He's player manager for the Monarchs, and this is where he might even be better than as a player.
As a manager.
As a manager, and
Yep.
then what we'll talk about what he does after he's done.
Yep, I agree.
Definitely had a good rapport with all, I guess just because he knew what it was like and was very personable and fun to be around.
Well, could you imagine your first baseman is also your manager?
I
Do you know what I mean? Like,
I remember this one first baseman who was a manager. He was betting on games. He had an awesome haircut.
somebody just said he's gonna be allowed to be voted on for Hall of Fame. That's the rumor.
I mean, Buck had to wait for a while, much like this other gentleman,
That's
this
true.
other first baseman.
That's true.
I think Buck was probably a way better gambler.
Oh,
but
yeah.
after he was done, you know what I mean?
Mr. Rose was just a bad gambler.
Just a terrible gambler. So he hits 286 and 47, and then in 48 they win the first half of the regular season, but lose their championship series against Birmingham in 7 games. And it's by 47 because Jackie Robinson and Larry Doby by the end of the season
Are gone.
They're out of the league.
Yep.
And the Negro Leagues are like, well, shit, they're not racist. Well, they're still racist, but they're letting them play now.
Yes.
It's like, so.
And they're poaching their stars, essentially. So it's like you could just see the writing on the wall of the Negro League being like, well, I mean, they're letting a couple of players in, but our popularity is dwindling.
Well, and that's the sad part is you have all these kind of mid-tier players where it's like, man, people were actually coming to watch us.
Exactly.
And the reason they're coming to watch you is for the guys that are actually being signed.
Yep.
And that's kind of I mean, it's great for the game itself, but you got to be like, oh man. He so the league has run into some financial problems. He was even pitching during this span just to have a body out there.
I saw that where it was just like, well, we don't really have great pitchers out there, but we need this 45-year-old man to throw some
Manager
the manager.
tapping his arm and running out to the mound. God.
They're looking at the bullpen. They're like, what righty do we have?
Oh, it's Buck.
It's Buck.
He's there.
He's calling him for himself.
He managed through 1955 for the
Monarchs. Yep.
Yeah, but by that point, by that year though, Major League Baseball is now in Kansas City because the A's had moved from Philly, which is an even bigger death blow to this franchise.
Because they have the Royals coming there, and I have to say this: he did get, before we get into his post career, he had 2 All-Stars and a World Series championship in 42 for the Negro League, but like you said, I feel like he really excelled as manager and then scout.
Yeah, no, but I mean, just in general, like, great player. This guy's a baseball lifer. Like, we've talked about dudes on this podcast on certain sports where it's just like they're a lifer no matter what it is. Like, it doesn't matter what sport it is.
No, that they're just committed to, like, even if, like, because some of these guys have enough money to just retire. He didn't. But I'm just saying, like, but
thanks a lot, America.
I know. They still go back and they're like, I would love to be a scout. I love baseball. That kind of stuff where you're just like, it's just in his blood.
So he joins the Cubbies as a scout in the American South. And he's got quite the eye for talent. He was not so much as far as analytics and all the computer stuff. It was just instincts as a ball player. Just like, I've seen how much baseball over the course? We're playing 200, 300 game seasons.
It's more of like, I can tell this guy can, like, play when it's the most important. Like, it's more of like what you said, where it's like a feeling of being like, he's a ball player, he should be on our team, as opposed to like, well, he's hitting 237 against a left-hander when it's raining. So it's just like
during the month of August, after 3 p.m.
Exactly. It's like, well, who gives a shit?
So in 68, he found Oscar Gamble in rural Alabama.
Yep.
And he also found future Hall of Famer Lou Brock.
Mm-hmm.
Not his fault that he got traded to the Cardinals, but he found him.
He's got an arm like a cannon.
What the hell did you trade Lou Brock for?
That's literally...
Everyone kept saying, Ernie Broglio. We needed a pitcher.
It's so good.
Ken Phelps.
Get Phelps.
At that point, but one of the big things that made him such a great scout, though, especially to these, they're not playing even really straight. This is like J.R. Richard type of baseball in the South. He's like a father figure to him.
Yes.
He's like an older brother. And as a former manager, it's kind of what you'd want in a scout. Because that's how you get to know these guys on a personal level. I feel like.
Literally, like, I've played this. I get, and he was almost like friends with these guys, if you will, and like traveling with these teams and like actually watching them day in, day out. And you're like, oh, he really knows these guys as people, not just like numbers on a score sheet.
Yeah. So 62, he joins the Cubs as an assistant, and that's the first in MLB history as an assistant, but we're going to get into some men of their time.
I was just going to say, they let him be an assistant manager, would not let him on the field as a manager.
No.
So it was in title alone that they were like, this guy's a manager. No. We're not going to bring him out on the field. We know how angry that would make you.
Oh, God. You mean to tell me Chicago has had some problems? This is the first time hearing about it.
Which is kind of messed up because Chicago had these things like, I think it was called the College of Coaches.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was.
But it's like they keep skipping his
And
turn
they
like
literally-
fucking Uno.
Yes, they literally were like, yeah, he was a manager, but we're not going to bring him up. That's it's so messed up, especially for the time, because it gets into like the 70s and 80s, and they're still not acknowledging. They're like, yeah, Buck O'Neil was 100% one of the managers, first one ever in MLB, but they were like, we don't want to talk about that.
What is this? All this blacked out? Nothing.
Nothing. Don't read it.
Don't read it. So, but from 64 to 88, he's a scout.
He's a scout.
Like, he's an actual and one of their top scouts.
Yep.
Signed future Hall of Famer Lee Smith, closer. Joe Carter also signed him for the scouted and signed him for the Cubs. In '89, he had actually planned on to retire, but Kansas City asked him, "Hey, want to come home?" Because he's Kansas City through and through. Like,
I was gonna say,
he's made that his home. Like he loved that place.
And Kansas City can literally bring him in as like, you guys remember him as a ball player here, and also he's a great scout. So it wasn't just like a name to bring in to like sell jerseys or whatever whatever. But like it was literally like, no, he's a fantastic scout. And you guys love him.
This is a win for everyone involved.
And we won't black out his name.
Yes.
Like, that's pretty much what it was.
Come on, we're not the Cubs.
Yeah, exactly.
What was it? What was he saying? He had described hearing a sound that Bo Jackson hit off the bat.
Yep.
And like something to the extent if you'd only heard it twice before and it was like Babe Ruth. And I forget the other guy, but it was just something ridiculous.
But yeah, he was just like, I've almost never heard that sound come off a bat. And Bo Jackson, I mean, you got to give it to him. He was the power hitter until he threw his hip into the audience when he. But that's what I mean was it's something about baseball scouts where they're just like, I can hear, I could be blind and know that this guy is an unbelievable hitter.
I can hear him coming. There's something wrong with his hip, though.
Yeah.
No. During this time, though, he's really trying to get a Negro Leagues museum off the ground in Kansas City. Because it's an important city as far as because it's like one of the premier franchises of that league and of that time period.
And he really was one of the, if not the champion of being like, this was important. We played for 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
And like this, or whatever, 35 actually, I think it was. But like this is very important. We should have things remembering this. And he really makes a great like statement for it when he's in the Ken Burns documentary.
Yeah, because he became kind of known because of that outside of Kansas City.
Yep.
And with a museum like that, I did want to add, you're honoring guys who never got a shot.
No, yeah, exactly.
Like, granted, guys like Satchel Paige got a shot, but like way later.
Yes.
You're honoring guys who, and the last guy we'll talk about, my God, what could have been, but you're honoring people that were unfairly screwed over.
Yes,
and
exactly.
You want people to be like, hey, learn about this person because they were really fucking good.
Yes, they're really good and deserve your attention because they were unbelievable in a segregated league that they couldn't go to the whatever quote unquote majors.
Yeah. He got his high school diploma from Sarasota High School. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, later in life.
They finished the Negro League Museum in 1997, as well as the American Jazz Museum, because it was probably the biggest jazz city outside of New Orleans here in this country. And then as time goes on, did you see he got in a game at age 94?
No, I didn't see that.
He played in an all-star game in the Independent Northern League.
Okay.
Got 2 walks. 94 years old, though. Still not bad.
Still drawing walks.
Still drawing walks. And then on October 6th, 2006, he died just short of his 95th birthday. And unfortunately, which sucks, he finally got voted into the Hall of Fame a few years ago in 2022. Which I don't know if you would have necessarily put him in specifically as a player, but just like contributor, like all the stuff.
I was going to say, because he, like we were saying, he had baseball his entire life. And to be in the Hall of Fame, it's not necessarily for his playing career, but for everything he did.
He changed, like, he was a part of so many eras of baseball and so much change in baseball. And, like, was there every step of the way as the game grew throughout the 20th century. That's what I thought was pretty cool.
No, yeah, that's why I really thought Buck O'Neil was a great guy to do this on, because he's just a legacy that people should know. Like he was talking, like he was the like champion of being like, we need this museum of the Negro League because you guys should know these players.
Yeah.
Not just the top 2 or 3, but like there's 50, 60 players that should have something talked about them because they were unbelievable and just never got a chance.
Exactly.
He couldn't even get on the field for the Cubs. Jesus Christ.
He could not get on the field to manage.
That's what yeah.
Not like they'll put a 13-year-old out there who just broke his arm recently. Oh, no, but not Buck O'Neil to manage.
Funky butt loving.
Did he say funky butt loving?
I think that's what he said. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Buck O'Neil.